All right, y'all. We are back with another
Sir.
episode of the Brothers-in-Law podcast. I am
Sir.
very excited for this episode, man. I really got the fact that we got Jamaal here is crazy.
It's crazy.
What is that?
It's crazy.
Nah,
Always
man,
outside.
come on,
The
man.
OG, triple OG.
Come on, Dad.
It-
I'm outside.
It means a lot to have you here, bro,
Nah, I
because I feel like
appreciate it, man.
there are very few black male public defenders that we've had to work with that are still here,
Right.
that have looked out for us, that have like put us on, and see that you're still doing it with now the new generation of public defenders.
That's right.
Deserves some flowers, man.
I
So
appreciate
happy to
that.
have you here.
Appreciate that.
Come on.
For
Yeah,
sure, for
good,
sure, for
man.
sure. But yeah, for those who are tuning in for the first time here at the Brothers-in-Law podcast, the idea is just to break down, our rights and our powers in ways that's digestible and accessible, so that your average folk can understand and move more in power than in fear. So that's the essence of it. And today we're going to talk more broadly about public defenders and try to address some of the stereotypes that may be there for a reason, push back against stereotypes, but also empower folks to trust and try to walk with the public defender as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, before we get into the meat of the conversation, Jamaal, we've all had a chance on past episodes to talk about what brought us to public defense and why we did this work. But how about you? What made you be a public defender, and why here in the Bronx?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'll start with why in the Bronx is because I'm from the Bronx. So
Okay.
this was always the dream to kind of work in my community. Going through all the stuff you go through growing up, a lot of times people feel they have to kind of move out the neighborhood, especially when you want to change up image or, live a certain way that's maybe not accepted. And so for me, I was always so proud to kind of still stay here, 10 toes down, which speaks to reputation. It speaks to, the way that I treat people, in the streets, in the courthouse, and everywhere, because I never had to run. And so
Right.
it was always important for me to be here if I could. In terms of public defense, when you're in law school, we tell students also, we tell them, try different things, find out what you want to do. And I did try to go the business route a bit. Music industry, I did some internship stuff there with ASCAP and everything.
Yeah.
And, it was just stuffy. I wanted to be like in an environment where I could be around real people dealing with real stuff, and they're my people,
Right.
And there's just something, special about offering this free representation and kind of giving that feel. I know we're gonna unpack it a bit, but kind of giving that private feel or whatever people think it is to have that, that private attorney, but being able to give that to people with no cost is special for me. The public defender is a hard job.
Yeah.
And that's probably why we don't see a lot of people sticking around, and
Right.
we're not getting paid the most out of all the attorneys.
Right. How have you? Because
Yeah.
I always told myself that once I get a kid, once real life hits the fan, I'm not sure if I can sustain myself in this job. So
Right.
how have you been able to do so for what, 7 years now?
Yeah. I mean, I came in the game at 2017.
Yeah.
Yeah, almost 7 years now. You know, you can't choose this work if it's really important to you to be wealthy, obviously, right? And so, your value system has to align in a lot of ways. And I'm not saying I took a vow to poverty, but I'm definitely grateful for what I make.
Yeah.
I still make more than the average person,
Right.
and I still make more than I ever did before.
Right.
And I come from limited means anyway, so maybe at some point, get a little more focused on trying to make money. But I think today's a different age that we make decent money,
Right.
and I make enough to support my family. I'm content,
Yeah.
and it's the value of the work is worth something too,
Right.
right? To be able to look back at the years that you spend and the kind of work that you do and be proud of that time spent that you're never going to get back,
It's invaluable.
right? And I mean, a more simplified way is when people look at, the kind of jobs that get you a pension, and that's why it makes sense in the end.
Mm-hmm.
But while you were doing that work, some of that work is meaningless. And
Right.
so, for me, I'm not going to have a pension, but I'll be able to say, I spent, a huge portion of my life, in service
Right.
and being able to help folks who kind of get shit on, get shot on a bit.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
Love that.
word.
Word.
Right there, man.
All right. So let's dive a little deeper into public defender. So we all are very aware with the stereotype of public defenders.
Yeah.
Even before we became public defenders, we knew what we thought about public defenders maybe.
Yeah.
You know, the old white man, sloppy.
Yeah.
You know,
Papers falling everywhere.
you know,
Oh,
you know what I'm
yeah.
saying, all disheveled.
What's
Pants
your name
loose.
again? What's your name again?
Right?
Yeah.
Forgetting your name, you just a file in a notebook.
Yeah.
And I really want to empower people to not feel that way about public defenders, but also, you know, justify why that may be the case. So we can just kind of open it up. Like, why do we think this stereotype is there, and you know, what are some trends that you see that like maybe us and other public defenders are doing to kind of like buck against that stereotype and like, you know, kind of prove that wrong.
Yeah. You know, I think one of the biggest things for me, at least, and this is something that I've had happen to me, like in my experience, is that, you know, you have people who see us working with prosecutors or being in the court all day, every day, and they assume that like we literally work with these people. Like they assume that like those are our coworkers.
You go to happy hour after.
Yeah, like they think that we really hang out and chill with them. A dude, his case, right, was about to get dismissed.
Right.
He was like, I'm not gonna let this case get dismissed because they got my property. I'm like, look, man, your case be dismissed. This ain't got nothing to do with your property. He like, I'm not gonna let this case be dismissed till I know for sure my property good. I say, all right,
Okay.
we gonna make this work for you, bro. Fast forward, the case still not dismissed. He still don't got his property. And he hit me up, he like, man, like, y'all got my car. I'm like, hold up. Y'all.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's a collective word.
You feel me? Like I ain't got your car, brother. Like I don't have your car. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of times people think that like because we work for free, like in the government, that we somehow are part of that system too.
Right.
When really like that's not how it is. Now I can't speak about everybody, other people, but me personally, like I don't have no interest. I don't get nothing out of making sure that the police don't give you your property back.
Right.
I want you to have your property back.
Right.
At the end of the day, but people don't see that.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, to that last point you said, people don't see that. What I'll add is like so much of media portrayals of public defenders are the fumbling, bumbling lawyers, right? Because like a lot of the shows that are put out are propaganda, right? They want to make prosecutors and cops the heroes in those shows and the defense attorney the bad guys. So the defense attorney out here bumbling around. And then, you know, unfortunately we have like rappers talking about public defenders and how like paid lawyers are so much better and like you gonna lose if you don't have a paid lawyer. And so I think all the media we consume kind of adds to that, what people think about public defenders.
That's a fact.
Right.
And I you know, I would, because this is like a nuance to the point, to the stereotype, because like I had this conversation before with some of the people in my family, right, who was kind of like, you know, in a different lifestyle, than like the lifestyle that we live.
I like how you do
And
that.
you like that, right?
That was good.
Yeah. You know, you trying to be a wordsmith with the words, man. You know what I mean? Yeah, so a different lifestyle, and basically this what happened, right? I had two relatives, both of them caught a case, right? Same case, involved something illegal, right? One of them paid for a lawyer. The other one had a public defender.
Right.
The one with the public defender, his case was resolved in months.
Right.
The one that had the paid lawyer, same case, his case dragged on for like 3 years.
Oh, he was getting that money.
Oh yeah, Milky Johnson.
Well, let me just say this. Like, first of all, you know, we tend to criticize what we know, and most people that come through the criminal system have a public defender. It's not like the average person has a private attorney. So a lot of times, the opinions that we hear, they're not really fully informed because you never had a private lawyer in real life, right?
You never even had a private lawyer.
I'm just saying, right?
Yeah,
not to do it like that, right?
Yeah, I see what you mean.
But I will say also too that there's some truth to a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
And I think we should start there first. Let's acknowledge some of the realities of it. And the truth is that, you know, the public defender has a lot more cases a lot of times than a private attorney.
That's true.
And that's going to contribute to, you know, your ability to remember every single thing about every single case. It's impossible, and that's a real thing. Right? And it is a real thing that, you know, the same public defenders see the same prosecutors in these courtrooms all the time.
Right.
And, you know, but on the flip side, it's not really a negative thing, right? And that's what people should really understand too, is because that private attorney probably doesn't have any relationships with those people in those courtrooms.
Right.
And, you know, you want your attorney to have some kind of relationship. Obviously, they're not friends,
Right.
right? But you don't want it to just be always fighting, because the truth of the matter also is that most cases are resolved with pleas.
Yeah.
And so it's about negotiation. So, you know, yes, when you're looking at TV and you're hearing, you know, media and those kind of sources, what we're mostly talking about is like trial cases.
Yeah.
And then how many people do you know that had cases that went to trial? Right. And so, and that also is like the whole idea that a public defender can't go and kill at trial. That's obviously not true.
Right.
I mean, we do it all the time.
Right.
And the public defender is asking us what's going on. I mean, the private attorney is asking us what's going on. What do I do? How do I do this? Right. And so, you know, it's just people talking a lot of times.
Right.
You know, but the other thing too is that, you know, it seems like, you know, some of those older attorneys don't have as much pride in like how they present themselves.
Right.
All that stuff is part of it. I don't want my lawyer looking like that. I try to come through looking all right. Right. So that when my client is there, at least he feel like it's gonna be all right.
At
When
the minimum.
your client, when your lawyer got the pool putts on,
Yeah.
you know, the big sneakers, the big baggy pants, and the shirt, you're like, damn, it's over for me.
It's a wrap.
Right? You know, 'cause
He's cut. Take him to the back.
a big part of the game is confidence, and so your lawyer's not looking real good right now.
Right.
Right.
Right. Yo, so I do got a question for y'all. In a few episodes from now, I'm gonna have a friend of mine who's a prosecutor come on the show.
Okay.
And I want to talk to y'all about just the optics of what it takes to be cordial with prosecutors sometimes in the courtroom or in the courthouse. So, like, I'm gonna give you 2 examples. I had one example where there's this black prosecutor who works in the courthouse that we work in, and he sees me in the hallway, approaches me, and daps me up. And part of me is like, okay, you know, we just brothers dap each other up. At the same time, I also got clients that's looking at me, see me dap up a prosecutor who may be the one who's just also prosecuting the case, offer him jail time, etc. The one that hit me even worse was the other day I was in court, and it was a black probation officer. One that I've seen many times.
I know he talking.
He comes up, sees me, hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Daps me up. Then the case gets called, and he asked my client to be remanded. And it's like,
That's nasty.
now I feel terrible. Thankfully, he didn't get remanded. Yeah, so like it was a case where my client had allegedly violated probation, and we were trying to figure out whether or not he should be back on probation or incarcerated because of the violation. So thankfully, you know, we argued successfully to, you know, not let him get remanded. He could be back in the community and back on probation.
But that didn't look.
But it was like,
that didn't look good.
my client's sitting in the back. Some dude comes and daps me up and then goes up and then argues for him to be incarcerated. And it's like, it's tough for me. It's like,
Yeah, that's tough.
I don't want to be that puppet defender that's, you know, where I ain't dapping up nobody. Nah, it's F them, you know, it's us against them. But also, I have seen value in being cordial with prosecutors and being cordial with people, because if it was a different PO, I could have talked to them outside, convinced them not to ask for remand, and then that relationship would have benefited in that.
Right, and it's, well, I just would say, you know, before I forget that, like, the client relationships, you know, that's a part of the job and that's important, but I also have to prioritize what's the most important for my client. And probably nurturing those relationships is probably better for client.
Right.
And so, you know, I don't want to make the prosecutor think that we're not okay.
Right.
And I probably would rather it look weird, and, you know, I probably would rather that than try to do the, like, you know, I'm not your friend at all, because at the end of the day, I'm probably going to have to ask you for something. You know, and I know the truth that I'm not your friend.
Right.
And I also know the truth is that when they're coming to us to shake our hands, it's really, they're doing that to try to get some of their own guilt off.
Right.
That probation officer knew he was going to ask for remand.
Right.
So he said, let me come remind myself that I'm a brother real quick, shake this guy's hand, and just make me feel okay. I'm okay. I'm a brother, right?
Right.
I'm a brother. Excuse me, Judge, can you lock this other brother up?
Crazy.
Right? And so I understand what's going on. And so, but, you know, if you try to shake my hand in public, I might have to, I might give you the fist or less, you know, I'm gonna give you the head nod. You guys know what time it is.
Right.
You know, but the truth is that behind closed doors, I might need to say, come on, man, you know, let's do this. But this is grown-up stuff.
Right.
If I got to explain that to my client, I'll do that too.
Yeah, I was going to say that. In Imani's situation, he really didn't have time to, because he wasn't expecting that interaction to happen.
Right.
But my practice usually is to tell my clients, like, look, you might see me go in there and shake this person's hand, right? And like, and I tell them, like, my mom always said, it's, what's the saying? You catch more flies with honey,
Right.
right? So like, I explain that to my client, And so we go in there and the client knows like what's going on and like why the optics are the optics, right? Because like you said, at the end of the day, we may have to ask opposing counsel for something, right? And like they're not gonna give us anything if we out there rocking, standing 10 toes down all the time. Like,
I mean, once the trial starts, or once you're litigating, then then it doesn't matter. Pleasantries kind of go out the window.
Yeah, it's different.
And then we fighting now, but
it's different.
Okay. So, what are some things you would tell people in order to like give them advice to verify if they got a good public defender or not? I feel like that's a question that I've got before, and what I don't want someone to do is to get arrested, get a public defender, and before they have their first court date, they already retained another lawyer, and they retained a lawyer in a case that the case will get dismissed in 90 days anyways. And I think it's tough because after doing this for the years we've done this, we have many cases where like we may not talk to our clients, and the reason why we're not talking to our clients is because there's not much to talk about. But I understand that there are still things we should be doing to at least let them know what's going on, so they don't feel like they're going lost, that they're lost in the system or whatnot. So my question to y'all is like, what advice would you give to somebody to like if they get arrested and they get a public defender, how they can feel comfortable with the lawyer that they got before they start spiraling and thinking that they need to get a paid lawyer?
Well, I mean, I think first it depends on how much money they got. That's for sure. Number one, if they ain't got the money on it, then they kind of gonna be stuck with one.
Right.
But I mean, if you really do have that flexibility, I personally think it all comes down to your lawyer's ability to communicate to you what's going on. If your lawyer can let you know what's going on in your case and you understand what's going on,
right,
then you probably got a good, like 9 times out of 10, that's a good lawyer. He gonna be able to speak. He or she or they could be able to speak to you about what's going on, speak to the court on your behalf.
Right.
That's what you want, because you can pay a lawyer and then they don't talk to you still, and they don't communicate with you still, and now you looking, it's gonna feel worse because you like, I paid this person.
Right.
So I would say first try to see how much they're willing to like actually sit down and answer your questions.
Yeah.
And really explain to you what's happening before you just go get a private lawyer, because like you were just saying, Jamaal, like a lot of times these cases not even going to trial. So it's not even really in that position where in your head you thinking it's something serious. You thinking like, oh man, let's say I could do 5 years for this. You really thinking in your head, I'm gonna have to face 5 years for this, and like you don't.
Right.
You won't. Like, talk to your lawyer and see if they can explain to you what's really going on.
And I think too, like it's our responsibility if we get arrested to ask questions. Think about what you don't know and write it down or something, right? Because you may have expectations that your lawyer's going to call you and say stuff, but like you said, Imani, there might not be stuff to say.
Right.
So if you just don't understand what's going on, you should ask. And I think that I see lawyers who present as bad public defenders to me.
Yeah.
And I think that part of that is like when they look like they're in such a rush that they can't stop and talk to their client, no matter how serious the case is. Because even if you're handling homicides and then you also have a person on a suspended license case, everybody deserves a second. You know what I mean? So it's like with every client, you should, your lawyer should be able to look you in your eye for 2 seconds.
Right.
And ask you like, do you understand what's going on?
Right.
You understand that even if it's a case that's going to go away, hey, you know that there's nothing happening in this case right now.
Right.
This has to happen. You're not hearing from me because there's nothing to talk about. You understand that, right? So that doesn't take a long time. And so when lawyers don't take 2 minutes to do that, right, that's just, to me, a sign of them mismanaging, how they're working, because they got to manage their own emotions. They can't be all frazzled and because you got 5 minutes. You sitting down, you doing this, take a minute and tell your client, you okay? You all right? Because that's really what people need. They want to feel like they're not alone.
Right.
And when they feel like their lawyer got them, you can tell the difference when a whole person's demeanor, like, I ain't worried about nothing. I don't know about you, but my lawyer got me. It's like, yo, just tell your client you got him. Make sure you do know what the hell's going on. I guess that's step one.
Right.
Better know what the hell's going on with your case. That's the basics.
Yeah.
And then be able to tell that to your client. You know what I'm saying? And if you're not prepared enough to know what's going on, enough to tell your client, then you obviously shouldn't do the work because it's serious, right? It's like if you're a doctor, you don't know what the hell you're doing, that's not right.
Yeah.
If you're playing with somebody's freedom, you know the same thing. So, just take a second to check in with your client. Look your client in the eye like a human. You good? You understand what's up, B?
Right.
You over there looking confused, man. It's
Right.
all right to check in.
Right.
you know?
Yeah. So it sounds like there's some consensus that the top indicator seems to be communication.
Right.
Sure.
Whether your lawyer is a good communicator.
Right.
I think that's the first one.
And then, managing expectations, telling people what to expect. This is going to take a while.
Mm-hmm.
I've picked up from other
Right.
attorneys,
And they're gonna tell you if I had a pay lawyer, this case would be dismissed yesterday.
and it wouldn't be, right?
Right.
Because it's going to be the same. I had, you get fired as a public defender sometime.
Right.
A cat not,
Been fired before?
what?
Yeah.
I mean, if you ain't getting fired, you ain't in the game like that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't want to go off topic, but I mean, as a black public defender, your experience is real, especially in the beginning.
I go there.
When you're trying to learn your chops and you don't know what you're doing. Because you don't know what you're doing in the beginning. Like when you first start driving, you got your license, you think you're nice.
Right.
But 5 years later, you realize I was not nice 5 years ago.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it keeps going like that, 5 more years.
Right.
So when you first come in the game as an attorney, you don't, not only do you not know what you're doing, but the average person, they smell like they don't know what they're doing.
Right.
You know what I mean? So the key is to come in and just know that you're okay, and, try to just be okay to not know certain things and ask people and be vulnerable and talk to folks. But, a lot of times with our people especially, we have imposter syndrome about being in these mostly white spaces.
Right.
The way our communication sounds a little different sometimes. It's not like the King's English
Right.
as perfect. And, a client might see that and be like, yo, it's not personal, but I'm not gonna win messing with you, fam. You know what I'm saying? They might not say those exact words, but I've had a client tell me within the first minute of meeting me, nah, I want a white lawyer.
Right.
Dang.
I didn't even speak yet. So I knew it wasn't based on me.
Yeah.
He said, I want a Jewish lawyer specifically,
Yeah.
right? And so whatever,
You know what you were supposed to tell him?
what was I supposed to tell him?
You're supposed to tell him, I'm a black Israelite.
No,
Oh, man.
I fucked him up with that. I mean, he probably would have to sit there for a second. But you ain't
Stuck
right.
now. You stuck now.
But you know what the crazy thing is that I can't fully say he's tripping in the sense that people are people and they have their biases and their
Right.
whether it's conscious or subconscious. That white judge might relate to that lawyer in a way where he's not as combative with me.
Yeah.
And so when that happens, it's not personal.
Right.
But then obviously as you get nice with it,
Right.
you kind of people could smell that too.
Right.
When you come in the room oh, I want the brother.
Right.
Even though you're the only one in the room.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I just came, man, I don't know. Well, I just went to go see a client. I know how not to say details, but
There you go.
on a very serious case, a homicide case, in fact. I just went to see him yesterday, and my brother Conrad just covered the case for me the last time I missed a court date, and he was just like, yeah, that cat was together. And that's what my client said. Yeah, you know what I mean? He said, yeah. I said, yo, that was my man. He held me down.
Yeah.
Right.
And he was like, yeah, that he was together. And, it feels good for us because it's not a lot of us to hold each other down
Right.
at work, but then also with our clients because you made my client feel like it's going to be all right for that
Right.
day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Whatever you did with them. And so that's just the respect that it's important,
It was the shoes.
it's
It was the
gonna
shoes
be
I
all
wore.
right. It was
It
the
was
shoe
the-
game.
It was the retwist.
It was a retwist.
Fresh
retwist.
retwist.
Yo, I'm really glad you made that pivot because I actually did want to talk about what it's like for us, particularly as black male. We had Gina and Fallon here a few weeks ago talk about their experience as black women. And, we also have our issues too. We also have our challenges and our obstacles as being black men in the courtroom and in this space. And I think you said it very well. We have very two different experiences sometimes meeting client for the first time. The client who's like, oh, you black, I'm in good hands. Or it's like, oh, you black, I'm fucked. You know what I'm saying? And it's like we got to navigate those kind of situations. So well, what are some challenges, experiences y'all have as being black males in the space?
I mean, I've had some experiences being a black man in the courtroom.
Yeah.
I actually remember one time I was signing up a case, meaning I was going to go see the judge or whatever.
Yeah.
And I go up to the
Right,
prosecutor.
so you was there on behalf of your client.
I was there
telling
at
the
court.
judge you're ready to.
Yeah, so I
Good
go
for
up
your
to I go up to the prosecutor, right, to ask the prosecutor what's going on in this case.
Right.
Have y'all filed y'all necessary documents as far as evidence? Have y'all gotten a supporting deposition, a person to sign this case against my client, right?
Right.
So I go up to the prosecutor in my suit, tie on, everything.
Looking good, of course, fresh.
I say the client's name. Prosecutor looked at me and said, "Excuse me, are you representing yourself?"
Wow.
I said, "Damn, like,
ouch."
That one hurt. That one hurt. That one hurt a little bit.
You gotta be strong.
Yeah, and then it was crazy because there was a court officer. There was a court officer that was right there, right? A black woman, right?
Yeah.
And she saw this entire interaction,
Yeah.
and she just watching. She's like, when that happened, she was like, like me and her made eye contact with each other. We both looking at each other.
Right.
And then afterwards, I walked off like, I can't believe that just happened. And she was like, excuse me, are you an attorney? The court officer. She was just joking that, like, she was just playing it off. Wow. But yeah, like that's something that I think happens a lot. Well, I ain't gonna say a lot, but it's happened to me. Like,
I feel like every black lawyer has had that experience of being confused.
When I was your intern, that happened to me a few times. Like going into court and people like, get off your phone. Yeah, get off your phone. I'm like, hold up. Like I'm over here writing a motion. And
I work here right now.
I have an ID. Like I have a secure pass and everything right now.
Yeah.
Y'all giving me a hard time.
I mean, you know, I feel like even as an experienced attorney, you're going to still deal with racism. People are not going to know how good you are as a lawyer. They're just going to see that you're black. And it's unfortunate because the longer you do the work, you just deal with those things differently or in a better way for you. But it's not like they don't happen. You know what I'm saying? It's just that if you're in a familiar courthouse, people know you, and so you have privilege in that way.
Yeah. Right.
You're not going through it as much.
Right.
You know, but, you know, don't ever forget who you are, what you are.
Yeah, that's a fact.
You know how people treat you differently as a black man in a suit.
Right.
Once you get in your regular clothes, it's you a target just like, you know, anybody else. And so you just got to always stay aware and know that that's happening. You know, it's unfortunate. You go places and a white person could be like a super low educated or whatever, just talking to you like shit, you know, not realizing all the sacrifice you made to get where you at.
Right.
And how hard you work and how important it is the stuff that you do. So we definitely go through shit, you know, and we're all indoctrinated by that shit. It's like when you go out in a store and the security's watching you, it's a black security officer watching you, right? So we all believe that crime has a black face. It's not just white people. And so, you know, you deal with that shit like, it's like unavoidable, you know, in so many ways. It's the black court officer that's gonna be, you know, kind of tensing up.
Right.
When you are making a passionate argument.
Right.
Where, you know, I've had judges tell me, you know, take your hand off your hip. You know, I was in my bag and I guess, but she's watching my hands.
Yeah.
Right.
She's watching my hands as if I'm gonna get up there and slap her.
Right.
Wait 1 second, sir.
Like, what's up? I know the rules. I didn't come this far to jump over the shit now.
Right.
Right. But
let you be white. They wouldn't say nothing to them.
Nah, right. You know, and so, you know, and it's tough. You know, court officers put their hand on their gun and it's like, wow, what you gonna do? Like, you know, a court officer really might, you know, try to body check you or step in front of you to stop you from going somewhere. Like you wouldn't do that to a white person, you know what I'm saying? But you also know that, you know, they'll kill you too in real life when you black. And really tell themselves that they were truly scared. And so that doesn't change, you know, when you become a lawyer. It's just power that you have to learn how to kind of manage. You know, as a black person, you have some ability to make some change, and that shit is scary. You know what I mean? They see you up there making legal arguments, trying to get another person of color off the hook.
I hate that.
Right.
They like, you did the shit with him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Who are these niggas?
You must have did the crime with him the way you acting.
Right.
Well, why I can't just be really into my craft?
Right.
Yeah.
Like my white colleagues.
Right.
Nah, you doing it because you on some criminal shit.
Yeah.
So I lean into it. I'm in it now.
Yeah.
I was already in it. Y'all wasn't gonna let me out the shit anyway.
Facts.
I mean, I have so many stories, bro. We could sit here all day. I'll pick 3.
Okay.
And I'll make them somewhat as quick as I can. So the first one, this is my first year. I was in the domestic violence part, and a prosecutor was doing something completely fucked up and unjust to my client.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to talk to them. Like, we usually conference cases. Like, we go up to where the prosecutors are sitting and we talk to them about the case. So I went up to talk to the prosecutor about the case. I got a tiny bit animated just because of what was going on. Like, I wasn't yelling or anything.
Okay.
Right? But, like, I was like, you know, my hands were moving a little faster than normal. I'm talking a little, like, you know, faster than normal. And so court officer comes up to me and tells me to get out the courtroom. Old white court officer tells
exactly
me.
what you talk about.
Yep.
Too.
Tells me, yeah, I was like, what do you mean? I was
work
like,
here.
Yeah, I work here. What do you mean? He was like, no, I'm directing you to get out of the courtroom. I was like, what was I doing? Was I doing anything outside of what anyone else was doing? He didn't like that I was talking back to him either. So he actually physically escorted me out the courtroom, and he was like, he said something to me like, oh, you know, you just need to watch the way you're talking. I was like, oh, so you mean you want me to stay in my place, right? That's what you mean. And he got pissed at that. Probably wanted to swing at me, but like other people came out. Other people that saw what was going on came outside and held it down for me. Yeah. But he kicked me out of the courtroom. Couldn't go back in the courtroom that day until like the higher ups in our office talked to them about what was going on. I guess they made the guy go through racial sensitivity training or whatever.
And they gave him cultural competence?
Yeah, he was back on the job the next 2 days after, bro.
He didn't like that shit. He was up in there.
Crazy,
I don't like they try to do the
Oh, yeah, nah, he postured up and everything, tried to kick me out.
And you look at the black judges. Look how they do. Right?
They do me crazy, too.
Right? The black judges, you know, sometimes they want...
He knows what a black judge did to me.
I mean, I'm with you.
Talk about it.
Listen, the black judges, you know, they want to like kind of mold you into what they want to see, you know, and because in order to be a judge, you have to have some kind of acceptance in this whole system. Yeah. You can't just believe in one side. Right. Once you get up there, you're kind of in the middle. Right. You have to kind of agree with the prosecution's objectives at least. Yeah. You know, and you know, the black judge, so that means you're going to have a little bit of conservative liberal. I guess you should. But people are human, and I feel like the black judges, like, they haze us sometimes. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's already harder because a white judge will pretend that they don't know what the hell you're saying when you're talking. Like, you understand what I'm saying.
You know what I said to you.
Or, you know, and so you don't want to have that feeling, so now you're extra prepared. Right. Yeah. Now you're more prepared than everybody. Mm-hmm. Now you too prepared. Now you too on point. It's like, this is too much.
Lose right now.
You know, it's like, so it's just, we can't just shake off, you know, generations of our history. Right. And it's important for, you know, each of us to try to just manage our emotions in a way that's healthy for us.
Facts.
You know what I mean? You can't really, you know, save the world, but also just having an understanding of your place in society. It's a, you know, do what you can. And that's what we're doing.
Was one of your other stories involving a judge?
Yeah, both of the other ones were involved.
Let me hear.
So the second one was like, I mean, I know the podcast has already heard part of this, but I had a trial. The trial was kind of a flavor of a police brutality case. It was kind of a court officer brutality case. And everyone in the courtroom knew who I was. Like, everyone knows I wear a Black Lives Matter pin, or at that time I wore a Black Lives Matter pin every day to work.
Every day.
Without fail.
Yeah.
And so one day, this trial is starting, and I have my Black Lives Matter pin on. I walk into the courtroom. Prosecutor goes, "Oh, I have some case law saying Mr. Blackburn needs to take that pin off." I was like, the judge goes, "Oh, I have some case law saying the same thing too." I was like, "Oh, word!"
Oh, wow.
So, you know, the judge gives me 15 minutes to research after these people had all night to research to make an argument. I make an argument about like how they are not letting my client.
You're not even getting to your client's case yet.
Not yet. Not even first. All that, right?
Wow.
And so then the trial proceeds, right? And then the prosecution proceeds to try to kick all the black people on the veneer off the jury, right? And they're pretty successful, even after I raise a challenge saying, y'all can't do this. This is unconstitutional. Y'all can't kick black people off the jury.
Right.
They somehow are able to do it anyway, right? In the midst of this, when I'm making my arguments, the judge starts having a back and forth with me about how the Black Lives Matter movement started. Right? This is a white judge. Right? And I'm making arguments about Black Lives Matter movement. He says, "Well, Mr. Blackburn, let's talk about how Black Lives Matter movement started," and then tries to go into it. And says the wrong thing, mind you. Says the wrong thing. Right? I was like, actually, Black Lives Matter movement started with this, not that. Right, but he's going back and forth with me about this topic, and he's a white dude, right?
Right.
And so then after that, the jury finally gets impaneled, and the main jury consists of all white Latin people, right? And then there's one sister who made the alternate.
Yeah.
Right, and so I again raise my argument. I say, okay, this is the makeup of the jury, and so then the judge steps in again and goes, "Oh well, Mr. Blackburn, you would concede that the jury has some Hispanic people on there." And so he tries to, we then get in the back and forth about colorism and ethnicity. And so at the end of the day, I just go, please let the record reflect that there are white Latin people on the jury. And I leave it.
You got to keep your head and still going through your legal fights,
right?
For your client. And your client's sitting there like, what's going
on?
Right.
But she was with it. She knew what was going on. She knew what type of timing the judge was on.
I think the beauty of it,
she knew what type of timing I was on.
She got to witness you go through all that. And even though you probably didn't prevail on every argument, like she knew you was with it by the time it got time for her case to
I was
go.
standing 10 toes. And then the third story was with a white woman judge who we all know. I was starting trial in that case, and I was just like going through legal arguments about how the prosecution didn't give me the correct evidence and the correct timing. And so we start going back and forth, and the judge is like trying to make, like, she's asking me questions and then trying to make a ruling. And so I start reading the statute to the judge. I'm like, okay, judge, like, I know that's what you're saying, but this is what the statute says. And I read the statute, and she goes, I'm not going to let you talk like this to me, Mr. Blackburn. You can't talk to me like this. And I knew what type of timing it was already. I was like, all right, judge, let me get a second call. I phone up the head of the criminal defense practice at the time. I was like, oh, y'all need to come down here. This judge is trying to white woman me right now, like, and I'm not gonna have it. So I let her come down, and it's like that judge wouldn't do that to any other a white attorney just reading a statute to her. She wouldn't say that to anybody else. I'm doing my job, and you telling me I can't talk to you like this. So
it's crazy, but we got stories for days, man.
For days, bro.
To this day, I still get confused for him. I was in court on Friday.
To this day,
yo, I was in court this past Friday. They called a case. I'm on the record. Before I even say my name, judge is like, Mr. Blackburn, it's good to see you.
It's not, though.
I'm like,
all the time, bro.
It's not me, judge.
All the time.
Crazy because y'all don't really look alike at all.
We don't, bro. We really don't.
And different hair.
Nah, it's really no excuse. We get so used to just, like, being apologists for people. Because at the end of the day, the less of us there is, the easier it is to remember you.
Right.
If you really just take a second to see who I am. But, you know, we also know the science, too, with the cross-racial ID. And give people some slack, you know.
Look, me and Imani, we a similar height. Like,
that's it, though. And
that's it.
And glasses.
That's it. Similar height and glasses.
And it's funny because I get mistaken for you from people who've known us for, like, the past 6 years. And, like, when I first started working here, I had long locks that was, like,
all right,
back.
That's what hurts.
You know what I'm saying? I had long locks, and you had a fade.
I had a fade.
I switched it up. That's why.
Yeah.
I messed up.
Your hair.
Every time, bro, I walk into some courtrooms, hey, Mr. Waweru.
You got a haircut.
Can I touch your hair?
Bro,
Somebody did
honestly,
do that one.
It's the coworkers that hurt the worst.
They do it
One of
too.
these days, of course, I'm not going to say names, but one day, bro, I was literally, he had just got back from a vacation, and I was in courtroom with one of our colleagues, and she turns around and is like, how was your vacation? And bro, it really
smiled.
It really tripped me so much that I thought I was on vacation. I'm like, wait,
how was my shit?
Right, like I did go to Kenya like a few months ago, but this ain't the vacation. And I realized, this whole time you thinking I'm calm.
Yeah, I had a coworker tell a client. I heard a client asking her, you know, where his lawyer was, and she asked, "Who's your lawyer?" And he said the guy's name, and it was a black man, a black attorney for a whole other company. I knew who he was though. Wow. And he said that's my attorney. She said, okay. And so here I come around the corner, and she sees me, she points me out. There he is. And then he turns around, he looks at me, and he looks at her. He's like, that's not my lawyer. And I look at her like, what the hell? And she just like walks away with the awkward like embarrassment, like,
man,
don't even address it. You just thought I was a whole nother dude.
Bro, the worst is when the judges do it, because it's like, I want to correct you, but you about to make a decision about whether you let my client go or not.
They thought I was.
So I can't be an asshole.
Oh,
to
really?
You.
Yeah.
Roommate, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Luckily for you, like you the only black male in your class.
Yeah, luckily for me, I'm the only black hire.
Luckily,
so, yeah,
right, you're all alone again.
All alone again, man. But yeah, I mean, and you know what? I did take that personal for a while, because I remember one time I came into the court, and I was fumbling trying to get my ID out.
Yeah.
And I like told the court officer, like, look, bro, like, you know me, bro. Like, come on, like, you know me, bro. And he was like, no, I don't. I'm like, bro, I see you every morning, dog. Like, we make eye contact every morning. Like, you know me. He's like, nah. So I go through I'm looking, seeing if he gonna let anybody else pass without showing their ID. Of course, a white person walks past, and he ain't asked to see their ID. So I'm like, oh, yeah, let me go back over there.
Yeah.
So I go back over there.
again.
I'm like, I'm gonna just let it go, because he was like, what you mean? What are you talking about? He's like, yeah, you know what? If you're not my son, I don't need to know who you are.
Oh,
no.
no.
He gave me one of those. That's what I was like.
I mean,
no.
Dang, bro,
even though and I say like, yo, you got to be strong and all that, but I think part of the strength too is seeing the shit coming and just like avoiding the shit in some ways. Because when a black person do some shit like that, it's not even nobody else involved. It's just us.
Right.
And so it's like, I just show my ID, B. I know y'all know me.
Right.
I know I'm a whole supervisor in this shit now. Y'all, everybody know me, but I'm gonna show my ID, B.
Right.
Because I'm not gonna have it one day where you do some, because you just want to be on some overseer. It's ugly, man.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, that's how I felt, because one day I left out. I was leaving out of court, and bro came to me and asked to see my ID. I'm like, Holmes, you trying to see my ID as I'm leaving?
He don't see you. He just see black.
And I'm the only, like y'all said, though, I'm the only new black person. So I know.
Which I feel bad for you for that too, bro.
You know me, bro. Come on now. Like, whatever new black
But
dude
also,
coming here
who
every
are the clients, right? I mean, they're not white.
That's true.
Like a white client could probably come through the lawyer entrance.
Yeah.
Facts.
If you got the right clothes on. If you put a white client in a suit, he can surely walk in and probably say, oh, forgot my ID today, bud.
Right.
Yeah.
Never been in that shit a day in his life. You be in there 5 days a week.
Through the long one. They got me standing in line with jury duty. They ain't even standing around with me like.
Tyriek, though, I do want to commend you, bro, because I feel like there's no way that I would be doing this work, bro. For I say this many episodes. I don't think I would have survived 6 years without having at least another black person, black male, that's alongside of me.
Yeah.
And I know you don't have that exact experience. I know, Jamaal, you had two black men in your class, and you had a large class of others, black people in your class as well. And the fact that you're not alone, because you still got a good class, and you still got some black women in your class, and that's cool. But I understand that it is difficult,
because that
feeling like you by yourself in your class. So I commend you for doing what you've done so far.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. That's why you got us, because even though we're not in your class the same year, you still got people who've been through it.
Jamal's a big influence on me. Like,
we got to be
one reason
for each other. It's not many of us left either, and it's something that we gotta educate people about too. You don't you can meet other black people in your regular clothes and tell them that you're a lawyer, and they might literally look you in your face and say, no, you're not.
Yeah, happened to me before.
Because people just don't know other black people who are lawyers or regular. Even when you took this journey to get to go to law school, how many people did you have that you could call and say, yo, how do I finesse the application process?
Yeah,
or
nobody.
I had to ask a person to link me. I was fortunate enough to have somebody that had somebody.
Right.
But even then, I didn't have, people in my network who were actual attorneys.
Right.
And so it's important for us to stay down too.
Yeah.
Right.
Stay down. Show, stay around your people. And it's because you don't have to say nothing. Just seeing you, you never know. Somebody like, yo, I maybe can get through law school, because I know my man Tyriek did it. He regular.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Stay down, and it's tough because they don't have enough of us. And
right.
And that is another thing that I would say, like, as far as staying down for anybody, like, thinking about this job, doing this, especially like if you're a black male, like, I do get a lot of love sometimes. Like, I feel that from like clients, like, they see me and they be like, dang, like, I see you, like,
how do you,
like,
don't even know you, like,
don't even know me, like, they really stopped me, like, bro, I don't even know you, but I just want, I know your mom is proud, like,
so
like, sometimes
That's
you hear
real.
those interactions and it's like, you're right, I feel that as far as like staying down, because, I feel like the community want that too, like, the community need that as much as well too, like, this is why we for the family, like, this is for the people, so it's both ways, like, come back both ways.
To the black brothers who don't take this route, I understand it too.
Right.
Because, when you think about the socioeconomic and people who don't make any money or come from poor backgrounds, a lot of times we're overrepresented in that, black people.
Right.
So when a black person get a chance to go make some money,
right,
especially if they're gonna help their family, I'm not mad at that.
Yeah.
You can go make $200,000 out of law school if you go into corporate, or you do, you can. That's like life changing for the family. You can get you some property. You can, whatever. So you can't tell somebody that's not the way to go. But there's different ways to make impact. Just do something. Do something. But we making it in a way without the money.
Yeah, that's how it is.
Hey,
we chose the broke path.
Even though I agree with do something, bro, I remember I'm pretty sure we all had law school friends that was like, I want to go corporate and do pro bono
on the weekend.
In the weekend,
I'm gonna do community service.
What I want to say to that, bro, is like, okay, cool. Like if you go
Cool. Yeah,
if you gonna go pro bono and do some work on the side, fine. But be not confused. We not the same.
Yeah.
Like don't think that we out here making a
live
kind of impact. Don't think that we are committed to the same fight because we not.
Yeah.
And that's my only thing. Like it's helpful and it's nice to see that you not fully just about the money and you are gonna take the time you have to do the pro bono work. But we ain't in the same room, brother.
Yeah,
Levels.
that's a fact.
There's levels to this.
Financially, I ain't in your room, and with the fight, you're not in my room. Like we in different
rooms.
different
Yeah,
playing
same
fields.
building, maybe.
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 But you know, you
Same
can be,
block.
you know, as you guys know too, it's complicated because you can be at a table with your family on Thanksgiving
Right.
and be under assault for the work you do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And with your own people, you look around the table and everybody
Own
black.
people.
And
Yeah.
they say, how you represent those people?
Mhm.
You say,
Facts.
what people? Our people? They say, nah, those people.
Right.
They ain't us. Like, what?
Yeah.
Right? But then you get that call every once in a while from a friend or a family member. Oh, you know, so-and-so got arrested. Who?
Yep.
Right.
Those people?
Yeah.
Right? That's us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Or you know what else they hit you with? My homie had gotten into some stuff, right? And they had hit me up asking me for advice, right? We're on the phone maybe like 30 minutes, and they asked me like, okay, Tyreek, I thought giving advice. They're like, okay, Tyreek, so should I stick with this public defender or should I hire a real lawyer?
A real lawyer's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's real. You hear stuff like
Making
that.
sure I'm real.
It hurt.
That hurt right there. Yeah, it's like sometimes you don't get that respect too.
Should have
That
told her, she's a real lawyer.
Yeah.
And then they gonna be like, how much that gonna cost?
Right.
45. That's how much that costs.
You know.
Man, all right, we kind of almost to the end of the episode, but I want to give all of us a chance. So, like, I got this slogan for the episode where I say, "This is not free legal advice; it's just free game."
No doubt.
And then I give everyone a chance to kind of leave the people who watch us with some game. So, what's something I know it's kind of hard because you've been doing this work for 7 years. You got a lot of things you can lead the people with. But if you could, if there's one person who's like, "Hey, what's one thing you can lead the people with?" To just
Yeah, I would say, you know, don't believe the hype. You know, you watch the news, and one thing you always hear when something happens is somebody come in front of the camera and say, you know, stuff like that don't happen around here. Like, things happen everywhere. They happen to everybody. It could happen to you. You might need a lawyer one day. Half the people I meet in the booth are people with long records that come in and out of jail. The other half are people that never been arrested before with great jobs. You know, just situations happen. Right? And so support your local public defender. And if your kid wants to be one, that's an admirable profession.
yeah,
That's right.
I like that. What you got, Tyreek?
What I got is this is for the people right here. It's just, you know, communication. That's all.
Yeah.
Communication. I see a lot of stuff happening. A lot of the cases I get where, you know, law enforcement should have never even been involved in the first place.
Right.
And I feel like as a people, we have to do a better job at like communicating with each other in positive ways.
Right.
And I know that's like a challenge for a lot of people, but you know, just finding ways for us to better communicate and express our opinions to each other in ways that's positive and healthy.
Right.
I think it would, you know, greatly reduce the amount of cases that like we see, which is ultimately like I don't want to have this job. Like ultimately, I don't want to be able to. Like, people won't need to be in a position where they need to have a public defender.
Right.
So that's my ultimate goal. So I would just say, like, you know, handle your business. You know, don't never always got to be the government or I want everything to be resolved before you even need a public defender.
Right.
Like,
Right.
so communication is something I feel like is important. So just communicate. If you're going through it with your lady right now, you going through it with your baby mother right now,
Yeah.
just know communicate because that right there could save you, your family, and keep everything together.
Cool.
Because they'll arrest you and your baby mom.
Yeah, and the baby too.
Damn.
Hey, taking the baby to foster.
Right.
you know?
Foster care, that ACS, man.
Conrad, what you got?
What I would say is public defenders are some of the best lawyers I know, especially the ones that I work with.
No doubt.
And I'll say, like, if you want to really know whether your public defender is quote unquote good or bad, it's like, do they care? Do they seem to care about you and your case? Right? Are they communicating with you? Right? Are they setting real expectations for you? Are they just blowing steam up your ass? Are they just promising the best scenario all the time? If they are, they're probably not a good lawyer, right? If they're keeping it real with you, right? If they're telling you what the actual consequences are, if they're giving you the pros and cons and letting you make your own choice, right? That's how you can really understand whether your lawyer is being a good lawyer for you or not.
I like that. And all I'm gonna say is, if you get a public defender, give them a chance before you. Don't be the person that gets arrested and like has a paid lawyer the next day. Like, give your public defender a chance. Let him see how the case goes for the first couple of weeks, first couple of court dates, and give him a chance to prove to you that he cares and that he he really got your best interest at heart before you go down the rabbit hole of wanting to get a new lawyer. But yeah, as you wrap up, man, I just want to make sure I highlight and give flowers to y'all that's here. Like Jamaal, I don't think people understand the generation of
Generation,
Man,
They
they
don't.
make me feel old out
No,
here.
I don't
man.
mean it like that. I don't mean it like that.
Nah,
But,
but for sure.
like
OG,
you
triple OG.
really are in the word the big homie for us when we first started hiring,
Right.
got working at where we work at.
Right.
And then Tyriek, bro, you are the generation now that's
New
doing
guard.
it.
The new guard.
And we just the middleman, but we still keeping the
Stuck
fight
in the
alive.
middle of two generations.
Right.
No Diddy, yeah.
And it's crazy how I was saying earlier,
Had
isn't it crazy how right now we have like 90% of the black male in the criminal defense practice?
Ouch. Well, that's
Work
just
at-
in our office, right?
In our office.
in our office.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
Wow, though. You
An
look
office
at
that has over 200 lawyers?
I mean, that's probably how the law school classrooms look.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
And so we got to start
Right.
we got to start recruiting.
Yeah, I got a young dude. I'm about to send him through law school. I mean, I ain't paying for it.
It sound like it.
I'm
Okay.
telling him to apply to these different schools.
There you
Okay.
go.
Show them the way.
Show him the way. Yeah, like,
Yeah,
give him
pay
a-
it forward, brother.
Yeah,
Yeah,
look,
pay it forward.
before we end, I have a funny story about like when I met Imani for the first time.
Oh, God. What he gonna say?
This old supervisor named Courtney.
Oh.
She had introduced us. There was like some happy hour that was being done either like right at the beginning when we were getting trained or right at the end. And Courtney was like, "Oh, there's another black attorney on the team. I want to introduce you to him." And like in my head, I was not being petty, but I was kind of wilding. I was like, "You better be a good type of black dude." And so like she introduced me to Imani, and I know we were thinking the same exact thing because when we first met each other, we sized each other up for a second, and then we were like, "All right," and then we dapped each other up. There was no word. It was just like black communication. We were just looking at each other like all right.
What you want? Dude? What you want?
Right. And then 5 years later, I was
Here we
marrying
are,
this man.
bro.
I was marrying this man.
Yeah,
at his
bro.
wedding. I was
Hey,
like,
whoa,
yo.
wait. You were.
Nah. That's how I understand.
I officiated his wedding.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm in the side. You know what I'm saying?
Wait, I didn't know y'all got that.
So this is this podcast is also.
You're going to get me in trouble with my wife out here.
That's crazy. But yeah, so we come to the end of another episode of the Brothers-in-Law podcast.
Yeah.
I appreciate
Yeah,
y'all.
man, it's
Appreciate you. New episodes coming. This is
Yes,
episode, I think, 8.
Ooh.
Yeah, we cooking. We
Cooking up, baby.
We rolling.
Sheesh.
Tune in. Appreciate y'all, man.
Let's go.
Yeah, we out.